Okay, cool. Looks like we live. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Chakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. We're the GMS Dallas camp. The elder Yatazak is here. And I'm the brother Aina. And what we're going to do is continue on this lesson. We've been doing a series in the book of First Samuel. Last week we finished First Samuel, so we're going to basically be continuing in Second Samuel. And we did chapter 1. Well, we did like half of chapter 1 in the last lesson, so we're going to finish that, and then we're going to, Lord willing, Abratazah, do the whole chapter 2. And basically, what you saw last time, we went over the account, was that Saul ended up getting put to death, right, according to how Samuel had said. And basically we had a Amalekite that tried to get the glory, so to speak, for getting at Saul, and he ended up getting put to death, right? And so what we're going to see here in these next in this chapter and in the next chapter pretty much is David's sincerity, in that he didn't want Saul to get put to death, right? He didn't wish death upon Saul, even though Saul was trying to put him to death, right? So this is going to be pretty much going over that. And of course, Zaquan, if you got any points, any precepts, I'll pull them. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Just keep in mind how Israel has always been back and forth with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You got people that want to say, well, all Israel do is argue and go back and forth. All y'all do is this. All y'all do is that. Well, that's how Israel has always been until Yahushua comes back. Until Yahweh sends Yahushua back, that's how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Israel will not be completely unified until then. You see, we had a prelude to it during the time of King Solomon. All the tribes was together, and it was peace. That was our preview. That was our prelude. You see, it's not going to be like that again until Yahushua returns. Until Solomon comes back, who is Yahushua. Until that happens, you're going to have this back and forth in doctrine and all these other different things. You see, so for all the people that can't understand why there's always Israel going back and forth against Israel, that's why it's been the nature of our nation since the beginning. You see, and it's going to be a reward for obedience as to us getting back together with all 12 tribes are together, and it ain't no beef at all. This has to happen. You got it.
Yeah, I got a precept. Make sure you can see my screen. Okay, cool. So 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 12. It says, seeing that we have such hope, which that hope is Yahushua, seeing then that we have such hope, we use great plainness of speech, meaning we're speaking things simply. We're not overcomplicating things. We want to make it as clear and concise as possible for the people that are meant to wake up. Okay, it says, and not as Moses, who put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished, but their minds were blinded. For unto this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Mashiach. So like you were saying, Zaquan, Yahushua, he is the medium in which we're going to be able to get back to the Heavenly Father. And until then, there's going to be individuals amongst our nation who are blinded spiritually. Okay, they're not going to be able to read the Old Testament and understand. Okay, because like it says in the next verse, it says, but even unto this day, when Moses is read, and when it says Moses, talking about the law, right, that was given to Moses for Israel to receive. It says, but even unto this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart, and a veil is a covering, right? A bride, when she gets married, had the veil over her face or whatever, right? So that's like a covering. And basically that's going into how, again, when we out here preaching the word, and majority of our own people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, don't receive this word, that's them having that veil over their heart, man, over their mind. They're closed-minded, so to speak. Okay, so that was a point on that. Let's go back to let's start here in 2 Samuel chapter 1. I think we left off at verse 17. Yep, here we go. All right, cool. 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 17. It says, and David lamented with his lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan, his son. So this is a lamentation, these next 9 verses. It
Also,
says,
that it's a precept in the Apocrypha where it talk about rejoice not over your enemy.
oh yeah,
You know
I
what I'm
think
saying?
you brought that out
Because
last time.
we know that we can all die. This is an example of that.
Mm-hmm. Con, that's right. It says, verse 18. Also, he bade them teach the children of Judah use the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. Now, 2 things. The first thing, the use of the bow, meaning because remember, if you read in chapter 31, it talked about how the archers were the ones that ended up, getting to Saul. Basically, he got struck, by some arrows, whatever the case was, and was wounded grievously. So he told the children that he basically stressed the use of archery. Talking about David, he was like, "Look, man, y'all need to know how to use the bow. Y'all need to learn how to use the bow and arrow." It says, "Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher," which this shows you that there were other books that were acknowledged, okay, that we don't have today. Which Jasher in the Hebrew is Yashar, which means upright. Okay, so this is the lamentation here in verse 19. It says, "The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen?" See, so David already viewed King Saul as somebody that was basically of high authority, right? To the point where he said he called Saul mighty, right? It says, verse 20, "Tell it not in Gath, not in the streets of Ashkelon," which is area of the Philistines. It says, "Lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph." See, because they'll take note of that, right, and publish it throughout their country and basically boast themselves against Israel. So he said, "Look, don't be telling these Philistines, that Saul is dead, that Saul got killed." It says, "Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor fields of offerings, for there the shield of the mighty is vilely cast away, the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil." Yeah, man, because when you die in a battle, specifically for a king, that's kind of like, I mean, it's considered a valiant death, in today's society. But you really you want to succeed in battle. You don't want to be the one that gets killed in battle, right? So, for example, Abraham, he fought war, the wars against the 5 kings. Well, in that battle, you know, he won. He triumphed because the Lord was with him. But Saul and Jonathan, and the rest of Saul's sons, except for Ishbosheth, the other, I think it was 4 other sons that Saul was at war with, they all got put to death in the same day. And the way that he died, he wasn't buried. They had to cremate him basically because Philistines chopped his head off and cut his body up and put it up on the gates of the walls. You see, so that's not a honorable way that Saul went out necessarily. Okay, he ended up falling on his own sword. Okay, it says, verse 22, "From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty." Okay, so basically saying like they didn't quit in battle, and he was what David was doing was he was in a historical way, he was kind of commemorating their lives in this lamentation, if you will, right? He was acknowledging his respect for Jonathan, for Saul and Jonathan. Okay, saying, look, they didn't turn back, they didn't flee. When death was upon them, they faced it like a man, and they got they got they basically got put to death, but at least they didn't get put to death fleeing from the enemy. They were facing their opposers. Okay. It says verse 23, Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives. You see that? That shows you that David he still had regard for Saul. He said Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives. And in their death, they were not divided. Yeah, because they died together at war, It says they were swifter than eagles. They were stronger than lions. Okay. So these were mighty men. Remember, let me see. I think I got to double check and see what chapter. I don't know. It might be like around the 11th chapter when Jonathan and his armor bearer slew them Philistines on their own. So these were mighty men, right? It says verse 24, ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. Yeah, because Saul won some wars, man. He won a lot of, different wars, especially in the beginning when the Lord was still with Saul, right? And he would divide the spoil. You see?
Yeah, I'll say. It didn't say he had a bad report amongst Israel. He just had a problem with David.
Yeah.
Because the Lord showed him that David was going to replace him. But yeah, he didn't treat the people bad.
Mm-hmm.
He was exactly the king that they called for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? Let me get this scripture. I think it fits. Let me see here. Talk about rebuke. Not an elder. Okay. David had an opportunity to slander Saul's name and call him a HAN and all of this and that, put his seed to death and all this. He had opportunity to put Saul to death more than once, and he didn't do it. Okay.
I'll be right back, bro.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull this precept. 2 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1. It says, rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren. See, Saul, he didn't treat David like a brother. You know what I mean? Saul treated David like a scumbag, but David treated Saul well. He held him in high esteem. He just knew that Saul had demons on him, and basically, those demons were aimed at trying to put him to death. Okay, but he still maintained his integrity. You see, he still didn't slander Saul's name when he had all opportunity to do so. That shows you again, the part of the reason why the Lord had mercy on David was because David had mercy on him. You see? Oh, matter of fact, we'll get that scripture. Mercy rejoiceth over judgment. Spelled that wrong. That up real quick. Judgment. Judgment. Let's see here. Actually, you know what? I like this one too. I might go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm gonna get this scripture, James chapter 2 and verse 13. This is actually a better fit right here. This is James chapter 2 and verse 13. Okay, it says, for he shall have judgment without, this is the precept I was looking for. He shall have judgment without mercy that hath showed no mercy. You see, meaning if you are a HAN, right? If you just a scumbag, if every time somebody has done something little tiny thing, somebody type of dude that will, yoke somebody up for getting their shoe stepped on. Okay, yeah, you somebody accidentally stepped on your shoe and you ready to put them to death. Well, that means that you having judgment without mercy. So guess what? You are not going to be shown no mercy in that day when judgment comes against you. That's the point of this verse. It says, for he shall have judgment without mercy that hath showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. Right. So it's better to receive mercy than receive judgment for your actions, man, because ultimately we are all guilty of being judged. Okay. and the wages or the judgment for sin is death. So we're all guilty of death. So we'd rather have receive mercy, than be judged and get put to death. Okay, but those people that are going to receive that mercy are those that give out that mercy when transgressions are committed against them. That's why Yahushua said what to Peter. Peter asked him, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother? 7 times? And Yahushua said, no, it won't be 7 times. It'll be 70 times 7. Okay, meaning, look, if you forgive your brother, man, then your sin is going to be forgiven you. That's part of the trade-off, And so going back here to this precept, that shows you, I'm sorry, back to this 2 Samuel, it shows you that David had those qualities. Okay. All right. It says verse 25, last 3 verses.
What's that? The way the king is, that's the way his subjects are going to be.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You see that dynamic between both houses. Matter of fact, get Sirach 33.
Okay.
2 things set against another, 33 and 13.
Okay.
You can equate that to those 2 houses, the houses of Israel. You know what I'm saying? At one point, it was Saul, the house of Saul versus the house of David. Then after the kingdom was rent, it was the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you had the men that was coming up against the judges.
Yep.
Before, you know what I'm saying? You always had those different times. You had the time where Benjamin and Israel was at war with each other.
Yep.
Even the sons of God, when the sons of God started to mingle with the heathen, you had the elect amongst the 2/3 back then.
God.
You see? Now here we are in 2023, and you got people that still don't get the fact that Israel is going to be at odds with each other until the Lord come back.
God.
This is just another example of Israel being at odds with each other. 2 houses separated, a house divided, can't stand, right? Mm-hmm. But within that 2 houses, you have the men that do what the Lord said do. You have those men that the Lord worked through to get his point across and to fulfill his will. In each one of those times, you got it.
This is Sirach chapter 33, verse 13. It says, as the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him to render them as liketh him best.
You see, so he had one lump. He had one lump that he was going to make righteous, one lump that he was going to make wicked. But he was going to make both lumps. He was going to make both lumps a huge part of the story. You see? Go ahead.
Verse 14, it says, good is set against evil and life against death.
See that? Good is set against evil. Righteous against wicked. Right? Life against death. The ways that the Lord gave us, the law, statutes, and commandments, promotes life. You see? That Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14 promotes life. Everything after that promotes death. Go ahead.
It says, so is the godly against the sinner.
Boom. Boom. Yep. The godly against the sinner. You see? So David's house is the godly, Saul's house is the sinner, but they both are all of Israel. Mm-hmm. On a wider scale, Jacob is the righteous, Esau is the sinner, but they both been set up to fulfill the will of the Heavenly Father.
That's right.
You see? You can equate that to anything, man. You got to get the understanding nailed down first. You got it.
It says, good is set against evil and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly.
You see, you got to have both. You got to have both. That's why I say, you got a righteous rulership plus a wicked rulership. You got to have both of those. And what's going to come out on the back end is a righteous kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
You see? That's the Lord's math. Righteousness fighting wickedness is going to equal a righteous kingdom, because righteousness is going to win. We just live in where the wicked is ruling right now. But it's the same thing with the nation of Israel within itself, the world of Israel. In the world of Israel, Saul's house is wicked, Jacob's house is righteous. In that particular cosmos, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about.
Yep. So like I was gonna say, or did you want me to keep reading on this?
Yeah, finish. Go ahead and finish through 15.
Okay. Sirach chapter 33, verse 15, it says, so look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another.
You see that? You gotta deal with that.
Yep. Yep.
You
Jacob
got
and Esau, yeah, the righteousness and wickedness, men and women, day and night, sun and the moon, water and fire. You have, winter and summer, you have opposites, man. And even amongst Israel, you have the contrarians, okay? The like Yahushua said in St. John 8 and 44 to those wicked scribes and Pharisees, he was talking about, wicked of our own people, man. He said, what, ye are of your father, the devil, okay? But to Israelites, though. So even amongst Israel, like it talks about in Romans, what is that, 11 and 7, okay, they basically they are not all Israel which are of Israel. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that real quick, and we'll go back to it. Romans 11. They talk about the wild olive tree being grafted back in. But before it goes into that, it says Romans chapter 7 and let me see. Well, I'll read verse 5, right? It says Romans 11 and 5, even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. So what? A remnant of Israel, a portion of Israel that's been preserved to basically stay pure in the sense of not bowing down to idols, man, not bowing down to these other gods and being loyal to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay, so that stems from the house of David ultimately, okay, which goes back all the way to the sons of God on the right hand side of our people. There was always a small sliver of people at any point in time that were loyal to Yahweh Shem Yahushai to the death. Okay, and those are the ones who the Lord is working with in these times. I'll drop down to verse 7 and then go back to 2 Samuel. It says, what then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So again, we started off earlier mentioning how our people in 2 Corinthians 3, how our people spiritually are blinded in the reading of the Old Testament, and the same thing now. Okay, our people, they want to obtain, salvation, right? They want to be, sovereign. You see, they want to have their own land, have their own women, this and that. Okay, invincible, all this, things that pertains to the blessings. But guess what? Only the elect are going to get that first. Okay, and the 2/3 they're going to have to suffer through death in order to obtain that. They're not going to be saved from the destruction to come. Okay, so we hope that we're on the side that is going to be saved. All right, it says back in 2 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 25, it says, how are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high places. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan, because remember, again, David and Jonathan were best friends. They made a pact together twice, at least twice, saying that, look, they weren't going to betray each other. And they were, Jonathan was faithful to that unto the death. Jonathan visited David when he was fleeing from Saul in the wilderness. Somehow the Lord allowed it to where Jonathan was able to see, David, right, while Jonathan's father, Saul, was out trying to look for David to put him to death. You see? So him and David were they were close, right? It says in the middle of verse 26, very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women, right? Because there's a scripture that says, actually, I'll pull it real quick. I believe it's in Proverbs, friend, closer than a brother. I believe it's in Proverbs. Proverbs 18 and 24. And I think we brought this out in this series already before, but this backs it up. Verse 24 says, a man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Okay, so when it says surpassing the love of women, it's not talking about Jonathan and David, being intimate, having intimate, desires towards one another. It's talking about them simply, having that tight bond, man. Okay, and we just have to clarify that because Christianity has just completely contorted this breakdown, man.
Okay, check this out. Where you know where that precept is? It says with the woman of our bosom.
Yeah, wife of thy bosom. Yeah, kind.
Yeah, pull that real quick.
Okay, there's a few of them. I'm gonna get it real quick.
Pull that wife of our bosom.
Mm-hmm.
Pull that.
Okay, this is the one, the main one that pops up. Let me see here. This is Deuteronomy 13:6. And let me know if you want me to find something else. This is Deuteronomy 13:6. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods which thou hast not known.
Nah, that ain't it.
Okay.
It's one talking about pillow talk. Don't be pillow talking with your woman.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
You know what I'm saying? It's certain things that you won't share with your woman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That you'll share with her brother and vice versa.
Oh,
you know?
I see.
The scriptures say love your wife like you love the church and all those different things. But at the end of the day, the brotherhood is the most important thing.
It might be.
So when it talked about David and Jonathan's love being more than the love of a woman, it's because you more open with your partner. You know what I'm saying? As far as things that you're gonna divulge. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say you can speak heavenly things with the brotherhood, but you can't speak heavenly things with your woman.
Yeah. Yep. Kind.
You know what I'm saying? Making a covenant to not destroy each other's house. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things that David and Jonathan discussed in the scriptures, you don't discuss that with a woman.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, just to get an idea of what it's talking about. It's a brotherly love, that agape love that it talked about in the New Testament. That's the type of love they had together. You can't have that love with a woman.
Yep. Let me see here. There's a couple of ones. This one is Sirach 9 and 1. It says, be not jealous over the wife of thy bosom, and teach her not an evil lesson against thyself. Give not thy soul unto a woman to set her foot upon thy substance. Yeah, because women are opportunists, you know.
Okay.
And so
Khayal put it up.
Okay, cool.
The water, brother. The water. It's GMS Khayal. All right, that's Micah 7:5. It says, trust ye not in a friend.
Oh, right.
Put not your confidence in a put ye not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom.
Yep.
You see, it's certain things that's not your woman's business. That's not her lot. You see, and the same thing with the way you love your woman, you don't love your partner. You know what I'm saying? The way you love your partner, you don't love your woman. That's two different types of loves.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And with the law, with the law, statutes, and commandments being in place, that blasts homosexuality out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And for you to even go there, is a curse unto you.
Yep.
You know,
for real. Yep. You add into the scriptures, because it even says when it talks about that, was that in Deuteronomy 20, or it talks about, or Leviticus 20, basically not laying down with a woman. I'm sorry, laying down with a man. It says like how you lay with a woman. As a matter of fact, let me get that real quick, because Leviticus 20 and 14, I believe. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Leviticus 20 and 13. It says, if a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, you see. So if you and your little brother slept in the same bed when y'all was 8 and 10 years old, that's not talking about this. This talking about when you got a woman in your bed, all right, you gonna, you know, that's your wife. Obviously, y'all gonna, you know, do the do. So it's saying if you do that with a man, right, then both of them have committed an abomination. They shall be surely put to death, and their blood shall be upon them. So this is talking about two men, you know, trying to, you know, basically get intimate with each other, like as if a man and a woman do when they, you know, lay in the bed. See, same thing with a woman, man. So that's pretty much, another example. So going back here to verse 26, I'm gonna read it again. For 2 Samuel 1 and 26, I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. So like you said, Zaquan, it's a different type of love. Okay. It says, how are the mighty fallen and the weapons of war perished? So this is the lamentation that David put up, basically commemorating Saul's life, man. Okay, and showing all Israel that, look, I didn't want this to happen. Shoot, David was out, slaying Amalekites. The Lord had it to where David wasn't even in that war, so nobody could go and say, oh, David, look, see, David killed Saul. The Lord set that up all according to his design. Okay, so continuing on in chapter 2, talks about a little bit more about how, David ascended to the throne, what happened after Saul died, right? So this is 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 1. It says, and it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, saying, shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? Right, because we got to remember, we got to pull up the old faithful map.
Yeah, okay. I was just about to say, share your screen.
My bad. So like I'm over here reading and going in. Okay, my bad. The water.
Okay.
Going back here. All right. Pull up the old faithful map right here. And remember, David was down here in the south, way down here in this area, when he slayed the Amalekites. Okay. He was down here in the south. So David inquired of the Lord and asked the Lord, okay, should I go up, to any of these cities up here, in Judah, right? And it says, and the Lord said unto him, go up. And David said, whither shall I go up? And he said, unto Hebron. So the Lord told him specifically, the Lord told David, through the use of the priests, okay, that he was supposed to go to Hebron, all right, a city in Judea. It says, verse 2, so David went up thither, and his 2 wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. It says, and his men that were with him did David bring up, every man his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. So key thing, it says in the cities of Hebron, meaning Hebron, like, okay, so we look at this map. Don't, like, if you see a map like this, these weren't just the only cities that existed. There were other little tiny settlements around the larger cities, like in the suburbs, basically, like you could say the suburbs, like for example, Dallas. You have the city of Dallas, and then you have Arlington, Irving, right? To the south, you got Lancaster, you got Mesquite, Garland, Plano, you see, but it's all considered Dallas, right? So same thing, with these cities, or similar concept, I'll say, with these cities as well. Continuing on, it says, verse 24, it says, and the men of Judah came, and they anointed David king over the house of Judah. Okay, so basically, even though Samuel already did the anointing process before he died, Samuel already basically anointed King David before he died while Saul was still alive. After Saul's death was when he was publicly recognized of the king of Judah, after Saul's death, which shows you that pretty much people knew that the Lord was dealing with David even while Saul was still alive, right? And Judah was the head tribe. So it says, and they told David, saying that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul. And actually, when you go, I think we brought this out last time, Jabesh Gilead was a city that Saul had basically spared. Basically he had saved them. I should say he came to their rescue because the king of Moab, if I'm not mistaken, said, "Look, hey, we're gonna poke out all you guys' eyes, cut off all your fingers, or something crazy like that." And Saul gathered all Israel and destroyed that opposing army. But that city was Jabesh Gilead. So that's why Jabesh Gilead, the men of that city, came and they buried Saul, right? It says in verse 5, And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, and said unto them, Blessed be ye of the Lord, Yahweh, that ye have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. Let me get a little bit of this commentary real quick. Let me see here. Okay. All right, let me go ahead and get this. This is the Bridgeway Commentary. The Philistines now control much of Israel's territory west of Jordan. Okay, and we read about that. Basically, after the Philistines won that war, with that Saul ended up losing. After, when the Philistines won, a lot of this territory here was under Philistine control. Okay, west of Jordan is the Jordan River, so a lot of these cities were under control of the Philistines. Okay, where we at? Oh, here we go. It says, believing that David was still friendly to them, the Philistines allowed him to become king over Judah in the south, no doubt thinking that this would help to divide and weaken Israel even further. You see, so it was a lot of political stuff going on too. Because remember, David, he stayed in what was that, Ziklag, I believe, and was basically fighting. Well, he was abiding under I believe Achish was the king, which was a Philistine. He was the king over Gath. Okay, and he was Achish allowed David to basically him and his men have a piece of land and kind of do their thing and operate more freely while Saul was still king. So after Saul died, the Philistines was like, oh, David the king, all right, well, shoot, that's cool, because they probably not going to try to attack us again, because David, he was cool with us. He was going to fight against Israel in our army. So they kind of let that happen, right? It says the tribes east of Jordan, however, were still free, and David quickly tried to win their support. And so we're going to read about that in this chapter. I'm gonna come back to this when we get there. Okay, so it says verse 6, 2 Samuel 2:6, and now the Lord Yahweh show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened and be valiant, for your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. See, so he let them know, hey, we cool, no problem. This is what's going on, right? It says, but Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host. So this is a big, it's a name to remember. Again, Abner was captain of Saul's army. So of Saul's entire army, basically Abner was the top guy. Okay, just like how Joab was the top guy for David's army. Okay, but Abner, he survived that battle that that Saul and his sons died in, and a lot of other Israelites died in. Abner survived, right? It says he took Ishbosheth. Now let's get those words real quick. Let's get Abner first. Okay, Strong's H74. Abner Abanar. Okay, or yeah, Abanar. Okay, it says my father is a lamp. Okay, compound word Abba, and then Nayar, which is lamp. Abba is father, Nayar is lamp. Okay, it says Saul's cousin. So this is Saul's cousin and his army captain. All right, so the next name is Ishbosheth, which I'm pretty sure that means man of dishonor. Ayash Bashath, which is Ash is man, or excuse me, Ayash is man, and then Bashath is shame. Oh, excuse me, Bashath, which is shame or dishonor. Okay, it says the surviving son of Saul, king of Israel for 7 years, while David was king of over Judah. Okay, so the kingdom was still kind of divided during this time, right? Let's see here. All right, it says he took Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, which was a city east of the Jordan River. All right,
you see how Ishbosheth means man ashamed.
man.
You know what I'm saying? He was officially the last. He was officially the last of Saul's 9. You know what I'm saying? Saul was Samuel told Saul that the Lord was going to take the kingdom away from him and wipe him out. You know what I'm saying? That's how it came to pass with Ishbosheth. You know what I'm saying? And then it was one more after Ishbosheth, Mephibosheth. You know what I'm saying? And David didn't feel the need to put either one of them to death because he made a promise to Saul and he made a promise to Jonathan that he wasn't going to wipe that line out. You know what I'm saying? So he was shown. So he showed mercy in situations where he could have not showed mercy. Therefore, that's why mercy was showed unto David. You see, every time David had the right to put somebody to death, he wasn't quick to do it.
Right.
You know, and when he did put men to death, he was putting men to death in the name of the Lord because he was fulfilling the Lord's will. So it's a very fine line. You know, you're gonna have some people that's gonna love David, and you're gonna have some people that's gonna hate David. But at the end of the day, the Lord's will was done through that man. You know, and the same thing with his house. You see, you got it.
Yeah, there's a scripture that says, "Judge righteous judgment." You know, and that's what the Lord blessed David with, the ability to judge righteously. Okay, it says in verse 9, 2 Samuel 2 and 9, and the king, it says, Abner made Ishbosheth the king over Gilead and over the Asherites, okay, which is the tribe of Asher, and over Jezreel and over Ephraim and over Benjamin and over all Israel. So the remainder of the territories of Israel, basically on this map, that were not controlled by the Philistines, okay, over Asher up north here, right, all the way down to the remainder of the remainder of the lands that were not controlled by the Philistines that pertain to Israel, the northern kingdom specifically, which, it wasn't necessarily known as the northern and southern kingdom, but you had what's known now as the northern kingdom tribes in the north, and then you had Benjamin and Judah in the south, right? So all of these tribes here in the north, pretty much, that were not controlled by the Philistines, became subservient unto Ishbosheth, Saul's son, at this time. All right, it says, verse 10, Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But the house of Judah followed David. You see, so the house of Judah, because David was a Judite, and pretty much, that's really the only tribe that recognized King David as king. Most of the men in David's camp were of his near kindred, somewhere down the line, similar tribes, right? It says they followed David, but the other tribes basically they just continue following Saul's son. It says in verse 11, and the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So this is time passing, right? It wasn't just the next day when we're about to read this part. So just keep that in mind.
Civil war.
Yep.
Civil war.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, let's look up the definition for civil war.
Okay.
Yeah, go to Google or something. Look up civil war. It's an infighting, man. I would say Israel has always been at odds against each other due to them curses, man. You see? I would say that they were divided. I would say with Adam and Abel, with Cain and Abel. That was division. That's with the sons of God. Then you got the time of the judges. That was division. Then you got the time when we had kings. It was division between the two kingdoms. Now you got the hopeful elect, and then you got the 2/3. Still all Israel. That's why these things that were written aforetime before our learning, you can see how the people that were on you can see how the hopeful elect responded to certain situations, and you can see how everybody else responded to certain situations, and that way it's guiding you on which way to go. It's guiding you towards life if you love the elect.
Yep. Yep. This is Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Right.
See
So
that Israel has been divided. Israel has been divided due to them curses for a long time. And
right.
until Yahweh sends Yahweh Shai back, that's how it's gonna be.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. So so that's exactly what it was, man. You know, Judah, basically the nation of Israel was divided. So let's go to the definition of civil war. It says a civil war or intrastate war is a war between organized groups within the same state or country.
Stop. Cosmos.
Yep.
Read that again and put cosmos in there.
Mm-hmm. Right. It says a civil war or intrastate war is a war between organized groups between the same cosmos.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Bible is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the house of David. You
Yep.
see, Christianity will never talk about the house of David. You know?
Yep.
But that's what I'm saying. While this was going on amongst Israel, the rest of the world was still happening.
Yeah. Yep.
It was still millions of people on the planet.
Kind.
But this is talking about Israel and the infighting amongst that cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the word world in the New Testament, majority of the time it's talking about cosmos. It's talking about Israel.
Yep.
Or it's talking about eon. It's talking about an age.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yep. Cosmos, the definition of cosmos is a tribe or a people group, you know. So within the nation or the tribe of Israel or the tribes of Israel, there was war, the people group of Israel. It says the aim of one side may be to take control of the country or a region, to achieve independence for a region, or to change government policies. So, you know, they wanted to basically take control over, well, I'll say through the spirit, David's reign was going to stand, but the house of Saul was still trying to get back that last tribe of Judah up underneath their jurisdiction, because, you know, like that's pretty much how Saul had it. Saul had all Israel ruling over him. Saul had rule over all Israel. Okay, but now we got David ruling in Hebron as their king, and they're not recognizing the Judites. They're not recognizing Ishbosheth as their king. They're looking at David and saying, look, this is our king. Okay, so for 7 years this went on. So you can imagine, you know, this is, you know, there's going to be some friction that goes down. Basically, this is going to cause some friction, right? It says, so this is fast forwarding 7.5 years. All right, verse 12, it says, and Abner, and I think we got like 20 more verses, so should be able. This is mostly narrative. It says, and Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. Now, while I try to find that on the map, basically, if it takes me a long time, just know it's more inland. Okay, so Mahanaim, for example, would be to the east of the Jordan River. Actually, that's too far north. Okay, it would be to the east of the Jordan River. Okay, and Gibeon would be to the left, like basically farther inland towards the land of Judah. Okay, you know, if a brother want to look on the, you know, the map, you can do that. But I didn't. Oh, Gibeon is here, actually. If you can see that, Gibeon is here in the land of Judah, very close to Jerusalem. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. I believe Hebron is south. Yeah. So this is where David was ruling for 7 years, Hebron. Okay. And then, of course, if you know the story, you know, he ended up going up to Jerusalem. But Gibeon, that's where pretty much the camp of Ishbosheth had pretty much moved to. Okay. And so going back to the account, verse 13, it says, and Joab, the son of Jeruiah, okay, which Joab again was the captain of the host of David. Now, actually, let's look up Joab as well. Look up the meaning of his name. Okay, I think we might have done this already, but just do it again. Strong's H3097 Yahweh Abba, which basically means Yahweh is my father, right? Because this Yahweh here is basically like a abbreviation for the Most High's name, and then Abba is father. Okay, so Abner's name is Abanar, okay, which is my father is a lamp, and Joab's name is Yahweh Abba, which is my father. Excuse me, Yahweh is my father. Okay. So let's see here. Continuing on in verse 13, it says, but Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. Okay. It says, and they sat down, and on the one side of the pool, and they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool and the other on the other side of the pool. So they were pretty much on opposing sides of a body of water. Okay. And again, this is 7 years after David was crowned king. Keep that in mind. So there was probably rivalries. There was definitely rivalries and all types of things, that tension was getting built up. Emotions, all types of emotions were getting built up over this time. Okay. Probably one side wondering, man, why these Judites, or why are these other tribes, why are they, bucking up?
I think when you keep reading, it's gonna talk about how Abner killed Joab's brother, Joab killed Abner, and it was just it was a hot mess.
Yep.
But the curses were, that's what I'm saying. The way the apostles and elders had taught us how certain curses apply at certain times. You know what I'm saying? In this particular situation, that evil eye towards your brother.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then it was certain situations in captivities where this didn't apply.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you got to be able to understand. You got to be able to understand which curses apply to which captivities too. You got it.
Con. It says in verse 14, and Abner said to Joab, let the young men now arise and play before us. Now this key word right here, play. I'm gonna get it because they wasn't playing like how you think on a playground, man.
Right.
This was basically like a declaration of war. All right. That word here is Strong's H7832, shachak. It says to play, to laugh, to rejoice, but also to scorn, to sport, to mock, to marry, deride. Okay. So to play or to mock, to laugh, usually in contempt or derision. Let's it says to jest, to make sport. Let's jump to the scripture index and get this example here.
And what I say, Goliath wanted to play. When Goliath was standing up in front of Israel, talking all his madness, and David wanted to play too.
Yep. Make sport. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sport. All right. Kind of like a tournament. Okay.
Okay. You want to play rough?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Basically, even like, okay, let's say for example, hockey, right? Hockey. If you ever paid attention to a hockey game, there's always a fight that breaks out, right? And it's a sport. It's not focused on fighting, but when there is a high rivalry and high contention, fights tend to break out, right? So let's take this as a good opportunity to jump to the commentary real quick. Let's read where we left off here. It says, but Abner, Saul's army commander, and his cousin had beaten David to basically taking authority over all Israel, right? Abner hurried up and went and crowned Ishbosheth so that, Saul's line could still have control. All right. You see here, it says, having escaped across Jordan, he appointed Saul's son Ishbosheth as king over all Israel, though he himself was the one who had the real power. It says David's army commander was his nephew Joab. And it says both Abner and Joab were eager to control the strategic town of Gibeon. So again, 7 years had passed. We're going to use our good faithful map to see that Gibeon was a strategic town. Okay, and it was close if you look at it on the border of Benjamin and Judah. Okay, Hebron was down here, and wherever Ishbosheth was ruling was more northeast. Okay, but Gibeon was a key location strategically, and it was probably close to the borders of the Philistines as well, most likely at that time. So going back to the commentary, it says, and when the two happened to meet near the town, they agreed to an armed contest between selected young men from each side. Okay, so painting the scene, and then I'm gonna read the next verse and then go back to the account. It says, the limited contest grew into a furious battle, which Joab's army won. So we're about to read about that now. Okay. All right. A tournament, right? Sport. So here we go. And this will keep in mind who suggested this. Abner. All right. Captain of Saul's host. All right. It says, and Abner said unto Joab, let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, let them arise. But it says, so, Joab consented. He was like, shit, go ahead. Y'all want to do a tournament? Cool. Let's do it. We're going to show who's the best. Right. It says, then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. Okay. It says, so, the mighty men came out. This is basically like almost like some Colosseum type stuff. There were, huge, there were, two camps, but they did, 12 men out of each camp. So they picked the strongest, biggest, swollest dudes for this contest, right? It says, verse 16, and they caught everyone his fellow by the head and thrust his sword in his fellow's side. So they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called Helkath Azarim, which is in Gibeon. So before I even try to go any further, let me get the definition of that place, the definition of that word there. And basically, again, this was like an armed contest. I'm not familiar, with like the details, but basically it led to obviously a fight breaking out after that. All right, so that in the Hebrew. All right, and when you see these big long words, don't get scared. Take some time, breathe, and just go letter by letter. Right. All right, this is a Chalakwath, Ha Tazarium, Chalakwath, Ha Tazarium. All right. And just hearing the pronunciation of that shows you that Esau's transliteration doesn't do no justice, because that don't sound nothing like what's written in the text, but that's actually what this is actually how you pronounce it. Chalakwath Ha Tazarium. It says it's a compound word, of course. Field of swords. Field of swords. So that's what. So that area, that specific area where that battle took place, was known as the field of swords. Okay. I guess tells a war is a sword, and Chalakwath is field. Okay. And it says a place near the pool of Gibeon where Ishbosheth's men were killed by David's men under Joab. All right, so let's go back. And that's what will happen, man. See, here in America, Esau, he names places over, remember the Alamo. He names battles after, he names places, after battles that happen here. Okay. But we actually have places where when, years and years and years down the line, you would pass that place and you say, oh, yep, That's where this event happened in our history. We don't have that here in America. Because Esau is ruling, man. Okay, so he's the one that controls the narrative as far as history is concerned. All right, but anyway, verse 18. I'm sorry, I skipped verse 17. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. So Abner and his army and his men basically lost, right? And as the battle was going on, it continues in detail. It says in verse 18, and there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab and Abishai and Asahel. So Joab and his 2 brothers, Abishai and Asahel, were there, at that skirmish that transpired. And said, and Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe, meaning he could run, like basically with wild animals and pretty much damn near keep up with him. That's how fast he was. High what's the endurance, right? It says in verse 19, and Asahel pursued after Abner, and in going he turned in or to the left from following Abner. Then Abner looked behind him and said, art thou Asahel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, turn thee aside to the right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. And Abner said again to Asahel, turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother? Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner with the hinder end of his spear smote him under the 5th rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place.
Good.
Man, yeah.
Jugged him good.
Jugged
him good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was one thing about Joab. With Joab being as close as he was to David, you know what I'm saying? Those impulses and those instincts where the Lord would intervene to keep David from doing some wild stuff, Joab would just go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Joab was as close as Joab was to David, he was carnal as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Joab will get you out of there.
Yep.
If Joab didn't see no use for you, your ass gone.
Yep. And so so Joab's brother was killed by Abner.
Mm-hmm.
And Abner, he still had a certain level of respect for Joab, because he was like, look, that's why he warned Asahel first. He's like, yo, look, I know I'm captain over Saul's host, Asahel, but you Joab's brother, like I don't really want to be responsible for dusting you off, but I mean, I will if I have to. If you keep messing around with me, man, go mess around with one of these men in the camp, man. Don't try to come towards me. I'm the Abner was saying that. He was like, yo, I'm the general, man. You can't touch me, bro. Go try one of them other guys in my camp. Don't try to come for me. And Asahel, he wasn't hearing none of that. Whatever was making Abner feel threatened. I mean, Asahel, he wasn't stopping. He was chasing after Saul, even though not Saul, after Abner on foot, even though Abner was I believe he was on a horse, something like that. Oh yeah. Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe Abner wasn't on a horse. Yeah, actually, it don't say he was on a horse. So yeah, Asahel was just chasing him. Abner was like, yo, man, back off, man. So he ended up killing Asahel. Abner ended up killing Asahel, and he impaled him, right? It says he smote him under the 5th rib, okay? Which I believe is that, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that like by the liver or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's definitely a kill shot.
Yeah, and if your liver is ruptured, and I'm gonna double check, but I'm pretty sure that's the one, or like one of the organs that if that organ is ruptured, or even if you get shot in the liver, for example, you basically done. There's no, you can't repair. Like you can't come back from that, because the toxins, basically that, those toxins of whatever impales you, that's going to go through your bloodstream and you out of there, before you even get to bleed out.
Yeah.
So
Check this out. It says, what organ is under the fifth rib? It says the abdomen has 4 quadrants. The highest point can be as high as the fifth rib. It is found below the liver on the left. To back you up.
Yep. That's your pop. So it says that in the middle of verse 23, it says the spear came out behind him and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still, meaning like there were other men that, kind of had died, during this skirmish, right? Most of those men were, men of Abner's army, but there were, a couple of David's men that were falling down. But when everybody seen Asahel dead, they were like, oh shit, no, this is serious. They killed Asahel, Joab's brother. They were like, oh, they looked and like, damn, man, no, not Asahel. That's kind of how they were like responding to it, right? And said verse 24, and Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner. So after Joab and Abishai, who were the brothers of Asahel, after they saw that Abner killed them, they were like, man, I'm coming after you, right? It says, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah, the way by the wilderness of Gibeon. So remember, key thing, the wilderness of Gibeon. So again, going to this map, see, we used to, cities and downtowns and streets. Okay, we're not used to just trees with no landmarks. All right, the wilderness of Gibeon could have been anywhere around, around this area, right? So they were out in the field. Oops, my bad. Okay. And it says, and the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner and became one troop and stood on the top of an hill. So they were basically like, look, man, we ain't gonna let y'all kill Abner. I know y'all pissed off at Abner now because he killed Asahel, but all of the Israelite men, they were like, look, we're gonna defend Abner to the death. Okay. Let's see here. It says verse 26, then Abner called to Joab and said, shall the sword devour forever? So before anything continued to get worse and continued to ramp up more, right? Before it got, irreparably serious, Abner said to Joab, he was like, man, look, we're going to kill each other forever, man. Right. Even though he was the one that started it. It was really wicked. But, Abner was really wicked for trying to, get them to, play a dangerous game like that. But anyway, it says, knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then ere thou bid the people to return from following their brethren? Right. And yes, man, Joab knew that the Israelite, like he knew that, the Benjaminites and the other tribes were related to Judah, like obviously, of course, but they were still that clash of the house of Saul and the house of David. But Abner called an end to it. In verse 27, it says, and Joab said, as the Most High liveth, unless thou hast spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up every one from following his brother. So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people of Israel stood still and pursued after Israel no more. Neither fought they anymore. All right. And last couple of verses, it says in verse 29, and Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain and passed over Jordan and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. So after that, they went back from Gibeon. They walked all the way back and crossed over the Jordan River and went back to basically the jurisdiction of Saul's men. All right, going back in last 3 verses, it says, and Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men and Asahel. So peep this. After all of this stuff happened, right? Only 19 of David's men ended up, dying. Well, 20 when you count Asahel, right? It says in verse 31, but the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 303 score men died. So 20 men under David's camp ended up, getting put to death. But out of those 20, comparatively, it was what 303 scores. So that's 390. I'm sorry, 360 because the score is 20. So 360 men. You see? So that shows you which side that the Lord was with. You see, if you got 1,000 men and you going against 1,000 men, all right, and you only lose 20 men, but you killed 360 of theirs, then you basically won. You basically won that battle. And so last verse 32, it says, and they took up Asahel and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at the break of day. So, that was pretty much the story of the first official skirmish. And you see, David wasn't involved, right? Saul wasn't involved. But so what ended up happening when you continue reading the story, the history, is that basically, even though David and Saul never directly clashed and went fist to fist, the servants of those specific houses, they had aught against each other. Okay.
Stop. Same thing with Jacob and Esau. When it talks about in Genesis 25 that it was going to be two nations, you see, Jacob and Esau physically fought in the womb.
Yeah.
But after they came out, you know what I'm saying? It was the people that came out of them. It was their descendants. It was their houses that would be at odds with each other. You see? Go ahead.
That was it. That was the end of the chapter. I mean, I can finish this piece of the commentary, and then that'll be all I had. This is continuing on in commentary. It says Joab and Abner had long been rivals, and then the precept to that 2 Samuel 26. Let's see what that says real quick. 2 Samuel 26:5. Excuse me, 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 26. Makes sense why they would.
It's gonna go back to that cave, I believe.
Oh, yep. That's it. It says, and David arose and came to the place where Saul had pitched, and David beheld the place where Saul lay, and Abner, the son of Ner, the captain of the host, lay in the trench, and the people pitched him round about. So this account, and so Joab, he kind of got off on the fact that he was able to get one over on Abner, because Abner was a general. He was the one supposed to be protecting Saul, but he allowed himself to be discovered when he was the one, when Abner and his men and Saul's men were the one that was trying to get at David. So they had been rivals, which makes sense. That's my Hebrew deal. All right. It says, but for Joab, the rivalry became hatred when Abner killed his brother. It says Abner's army fared badly, and only his personal appeal to Joab brought a break in hostilities. Over the next 2 years, the supporters of Ishbosheth and the supporters of David were in constant conflict, and victory consistently went to those on David's side. So that shows you, man, that the house of David is where it's at. If that don't tell you, I don't know what does.
That's right.
So that's all I had. I don't know if you wanted to get anything. Got some precepts here. Okay, we read that one. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, Zaquan. That's all I got.
Yeah, me too. You go ahead and close us out.
Okay, Khan. Hey, I brought to Zah. This is edifying. Lord willing, this is edifying to you, brothers. A few sisters are watching. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Chakwaдаsh. Double honors to the apostles and those of great millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.